For 3 years, Maya Carter carried her husband's entire family, 12 mouths inside the sleek two-story modern estate her late father had gifted her in Preston Hollow, Dallas. She once believed patience and sacrifice would melt hearts. Her husband Ryan Brooks would be moved, his mother Evelyn would soften. What she got back was mockery behind closed doors. A plan to trick her into signing the deed to the only thing her father left her, and a husband who was never home on anniversaries. That evening should have been tender their third wedding anniversary. The house smelled like rosemary chicken and seared scallops. The dining table set with linen and crystal. Upstairs, the kids from Ryan's sister thundered down the hallway like it was a trampoline park. In the kitchen, Maya exhaled centered and reached for plates when Ryan's leather briefcase bumped her elbow, slid off the island, and burst open. A phone skittered across the tile and lit up on impact. "Baby, same spot tonight. Can't stop thinking about you. Pixie." Maya's pulse cooled to ice. Another banner slid over the first this time from Evelyn. "That barren hen asked me about IVF again. Make her sign the house over. If you two split, we won't lose a dime." The room hummed. Maya unlocked the phone with trembling fingers and fell into a gallery of pinned chats. 5 different women at the top, messages explicit enough to curdle her stomach. Keys turned at the front door. She tossed the phone back, straightened, and faced Ryan as he strolled in, loosening his tie and flinging his jacket onto the sofa. "Dinner," he barked, not looking up. "I'm starving." Maya's voice came out level. "Today is our 3rd anniversary." A blank pause. A shrug. "I've got a big project. Can't keep up with every date." He motioned at the kitchen. "Let's eat." She met his eyes. "Who's Pixie?" The change was instant stiff shoulders flaring pride. "You went through my phone," he snapped. "When did you become so irrational?" The word irrational struck like a match to gasoline that had pooled for 3 years. She laughed once brittle. "Irrational, my dowry house shelters your entire family. My salary covers their groceries, their emergencies. Your mother and sister call me broken because we don't have a child. And you keep 5 women warm while plotting with your mother to steal my home." Ryan slammed his palm onto the table. Utensils rattled. "They're jokes between colleagues. You can't have kids, don't blame my mom for saying it. If you weren't still useful, I'd have filed for divorce already." The front door swung again. Evelyn swept in with Ryan's sister's family right behind her, all loud concern, and practiced outrage. "What's this racket?" Evelyn sneered, dropping onto the couch like it was a throne. "Arguing, and the house isn't even tidy. We're staying a few days. Your brother-in-law's place is under renovation. Get the study ready." Maya stared as her sister-in-law directed her husband to wheel suitcases into Maya's ground floor office, where every drawing and model from Maya's architecture career lived. Something in Maya clicked cold, clean clarity. She turned to the room, voice steady and crisp. "We're getting a divorce." Silence, then. Evelyn's laugh split the air. "Divorce? Who would take a woman who can't even give a child?" Maya climbed the stairs without another word, locked the bedroom door, and faced a stranger in the mirror. Pale skin, sunken eyes, the weight of 1,000 dimmed days. Tears came hot, then stopped. She dialed a number she'd memorized since childhood and hadn't dared to call in 3 years. "Dad," her voice broke. On the other end, Richard Carter, once the most imposing man in Dallas real estate, softened instantly. "Kiddo." "What's wrong, Dad?" she sobbed finally, letting the dam burst. "I want to come home." "Morning." The house was unnaturally quiet when she came down. The family devoured last night's food without meeting her eyes. Maya poured coffee, ignored the whispers, slipped into a tailored sheath dress, and headed downtown to the Carter West law offices. Floor-to-ceiling windows, quiet carpets, safety. Attorney Victor Ward, her father's oldest friend, had a folder ready before she sat. "Your father told me to hold these in case you ever needed them," he said gently, sliding the file across. On top, the deed to the Preston Hollow estate, Maya's name only recorded before her marriage. Under it, a notarized prenup Ryan had signed, his signature unmistakable. Clause 14 bolded. If husband engages in marital infidelity, causing material or emotional harm, husband forfeits all claims to marital assets and must vacate the residence within 72 hours of divorce filing. Maya traced the ink with her finger tears, pricking for a wholly different reason this time. Her father hadn't abandoned her when she eloped against his advice. He'd built a fortress around her and waited. When she stepped back into the Dallas sun, Ryan called suddenly syrup sweet. Babe last night got out of hand. I booked Nobu Dallas at 7, your favorite. Let's talk. I'll explain everything. Maya watched her reflection in a mirrored tower, the same face new steel behind the eyes. Sure, she said. I'll come. At 7 sharp, she entered a private room in a deep red silk dress she hadn't worn since before marriage. Ryan blinked, then pasted on a grin. The table filled with Toro Uni, all her favorites. He launched into a monologue, college memories, stress at work. I messed up, but those women were just clients networking. You know how it is. He reached for her hand. Let's reset. Maybe it's time we try for a baby. A child would fix everything. Maya slipped her hand away, a small, sad smile curving her mouth. Do you know why I haven't gotten pregnant in 3 years, even without birth control in the house? Ryan blinked. Because of you. That's what, Mom. I took emergency contraception every single time, she said, voice like glass. I refuse to let a child be born into this family. Your mother's greed, your entitlement. This house full of freeloaders. Color drained from his face. He started to sputter plead posture, but she stood, collected her clutch, and ended it clean. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Ward and Associates. Bring your mother, your sister, your entire cheering section. We'll talk divorce. Ryan sneered as a last resort. The house is marital property. Walk if you want, you'll be the one out on the street. Maya met his gaze unblinking. Read the prenup you signed. At the door, she paused almost as an afterthought. And tell your mother to return my jewelry and handbags. If she doesn't, I'll file a police report for theft. Let's not add mugshot to the family scrapbook. Outside, a fine Texas drizzle cooled the August heat. Maya didn't call a car. She let the rain beat on her hair and skin until salt and water were indistinguishable, until the weight of 3 years slid from her shoulders and into the gutter. Tomorrow would be war. Tonight was the first breath of freedom. At 9 a.m., sharp, the glass-walled conference room at Ward and Associates felt colder than a courtroom. On one side, Maya Carter, with attorney Victor Ward, a legal pad, a steel pen, and calm she'd borrowed from somewhere deep. On the other, Ryan Brooks, his mother, Evelyn, his sister Lena Brooks Santos with husband and kids, plus a forest of sour aunts and uncles. 12 people crammed into chairs, radiating grievance. Evelyn started the show, "You ungrateful." Victor slid a packet across the table so cleanly the plastic sleeves whispered, "Title to the Preston Hollow property." Maya Carter, sole owner, recorded before marriage. And the notarized prenuptial agreement Mr. Brooks signed. He tapped a gold clip. Clause 14 in the event of infidelity. Husband forfeits any claim to assets and vacates within 72 hours. Ryan didn't look at the paper. I was young. I didn't understand. Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes. You were 28 with a bachelor's degree and a witness present. Texas courts will find you understood perfectly. Maya spoke for the first time, voice steady. Understanding isn't our problem. Choices are. She lifted the remote. The wall monitor blinked to life. Ryan arm around a woman in a white sundress trying on a diamond at North Park Center. Time-stamped the night of their 3rd anniversary. Receipts, hotel folios, and transfers flicked by like x-rays, 5 different women, all paid for from Maya's accounts. Silence turned to heat. Lena's husband muttered a curse under his breath. Evelyn's face blanched, then went the color of a stop sign. Ryan tried to recover swagger. So what? You going to cling to that house and sleep there by yourself? Maya clicked the remote again. This time it wasn't evidence. It was a letter of intent on firm letterhead. I won't be living in that house, she said. I'm donating it full market value to the Lone Star Children's Foundation. Victor has the transfer package ready. Closing is scheduled for next week. The room detonated. Evelyn stood so fast her chair scraped. You'd throw 12 of us into the street. Maya's reply was quiet and deadly accurate. You're 12 adults with choices. Those kids you weaponize. They're not your meal ticket, and they're not my prison. You have 72 hours to vacate. After that, security handles it. Ryan's jaw worked. You're heartless. No, Maya said. I'm finally done. Back at Preston Hollow, the estate had already turned into a flea market. Suitcases exploded in the foyer. Someone had dragged one of Maya's architectural models off her office shelves. The balsa spires lay snapped like bones. In the kitchen, last night's platters were scraped bare. Evelyn pointed from the doorway, shaking. You can't do this to us. Maya didn't bother answering. She moved through the house methodically, passport a leather jewelry roll, her mother's the box of old Polaroids her father kept of Maya on job sites in muddy boots. 3 clean suits, trail shoes, sketchbook laptop. In the primary closet, she reached to the top shelf for a hat box where she'd hidden a tiny velvet pouch years ago. 2 silver cufflinks engraved RC. She slipped them into her clutch. On her way downstairs, she paused at the threshold of her ground floor office. The scale model of a civic library she designed before marriage lay wrecked. She stood very still for 5 seconds, then opened a storage drawer, removed a fresh portfolio tube, and slid her labored drawings inside. Some things can still be saved. A black Escalade rolled up to the porte-cochere as she wheeled a single suitcase out. The driver, a broad-shouldered man in his 50s with kind eyes, hurried around to open the door. "Ms. Carter," he said with a respectful nod. "Jenkins, your dad asked me to bring you home." "Thank you, Jenkins." The 2 words nearly undid her. Behind her, Evelyn's voice climbed an octave. "Maya, you can't leave us like this." Maya set the suitcase into the trunk herself and shut it, turning to face the family swarming the doorway. "You have 3 days. Victor will email a move-out checklist and a number for a junk haul. Take what's yours. Don't touch what isn't." She met Ryan's eyes last. "Send my jewelry and handbags to Ward & Associates by tomorrow. If anything's missing, I file a theft report." Lena sneered. "You think anyone will love you after this?" Maya didn't blink. "I'm not asking." The Escalade eased away. In the side mirror, 12 silhouettes seethed smaller and smaller until they were only heat shimmer above the driveway. They crossed the Katy Trail and wound into Turtle Creek, where the live oaks lean like old men whispering. Jenkins turned through wrought iron gates that parted on a 3-story modern of steel and stone folded into the hillside, the city skyline winking beyond the treetops. Lanterns glowed under the wide overhang like a runway home. Richard Carter stood waiting at the top of the steps. The last 3 years had threaded silver through his hair and etched worry lines around his mouth. But his shoulders were still straight. Maya climbed, and when he opened his arms, she went the last few steps at a run. "I'm sorry," she said into his jacket, the apology for leaving, for not calling for everything that had hurt both of them. He kissed the top of her head. "You came home. That's the only line that matters." Inside, the quiet wasn't empty. It was deliberate. Warm walnut, handmade rugs, the faint citrus of furniture polish. On a console table, a framed photo of Maya at 22, in a hard hat, grinning into the sundust on her cheeks. She reached out and steadied it with a fingertip. "Victor called," Richard said as they moved to the kitchen. "You handled yourself." "I had a fortress you built for me," she said, meaning the deed, the prenup, and the love that had not evaporated, even when she'd been foolish. He poured her water with lemon. "Eat something, then sleep. Tomorrow come to the office. We'll talk next steps." Maya hesitated. "I don't want a parachute." Richard's smile had pride in it, not condescension. "Good. I wasn't offering one. I was offering a door." They ate chicken soup in companionable silence. After Maya showered and dressed in a soft tee she'd left behind years ago. Through her bedroom's glass, Dallas spread out like a constellation map. She slid the window open enough to let in the creek's frogs and the distant hiss of the city. The house didn't feel like a monument to a powerful man. It felt like anchor and launchpad at once. Before bed, she texted Victor schedule locksmith and inventory at Preston Hollow for move-out day. Confirm transfer timeline with Lone Star Children's Foundation. Please arrange an on-site rep when we hand over the keys. He replied in under a minute, all set. Proud of you. Maya lay back and stared at the ceiling, realizing this was the first night in 3 years she wasn't bracing for a front door key at 1:00 a.m., for slurred excuses or weaponized silence. The quiet wrapped around her, not like isolation, but like a blanket warmed by a dryer. Down the hall, Richard's footsteps paused. "Kiddo, I'm awake," she called softly. He leaned in the doorway. "One more thing. Tomorrow when you step into that building, I want you to remember something." "What?" "You don't owe anyone a performance," he said. "Not them, not me. Show up and build. That's who you are." After he left, Maya turned on her side and let the city's glow blur. She didn't picture Ryan or Evelyn or the house she'd just given away. She pictured blueprints lines that start nowhere and become rooms halls, a place where someone's life can happen. In 72 hours, 12 people would be gone from a house that was never theirs. In a week, that house would be alive with a different kind of noise, kids learning to laugh again. And in the morning, she'd walk into Carter West under her own name, not as someone's wife, but as the woman who finally set her own terms and signed her own transfer. A door had closed. 6 others she suspected were about to swing open. By 8:15 a.m., the elevator at Carter Group Tower opened onto the executive floor with a hush that felt like a library. Richard Carter didn't take her to the corner office or the boardroom. He walked her right past both down a quieter hall lined with project boards and pinned elevations. "We're not skipping rungs," he said, handing over a slim leather folio and an employee badge that read M. Carter, Project Development. "You'll report to Miles Tripp. He doesn't need a tutorial on your last name. Let your work do the introductions." Maya smiled, a clean, grateful thing. "Copy that." He squeezed her shoulder once. Build. Project Development, Level 23, wasn't glass and marble. It was scuffed rolling chairs, clipped plan sets, and a whiteboard permanently ghosted with old numbers. The admin, Renee, looked up and offered a neutral, professional smile that said, "New hire welcome." Coffee steamed, printers complained. "Morning, team," came a voice like a tie knotted a little too tight. Miles Tripp, late 40s, slight paunch, under a perfect shirt, swept in with a manila stack and a scent of aftershave that belonged at a country club. He glanced at Maya's badge. "You're the transfer Victor mentioned." "Good. Park yourself there." He pointed at a desk by the supply closet. "We're slammed. No handshakes, no fanfare. Perfect." The 900 stand-up was all acronyms and deadlines. When it ended, Miles tapped a thin folder. "Since you're eager." A flash of teeth that wasn't a smile. Maple Square Renewal. East Side. Pre-war complex with patchwork plumbing seniors on fixed incomes, zero glamour, tinier budget. The city wants a plan that threads a needle, rehabilitate, don't displace, and make it pencil. Everyone else passed. Consider it your on-ramp. Maya opened the folder-faded site map. Notes about sinkholes in an alley. A line item circled in red community room funding. Her pulse didn't rise. "I'll go out there today." Miles nodded like he'd set a trap and heard the first footfall. "Bring back something real, not brochure talk." By noon, Maple Square was heat shimmering off cracked sidewalks, the smell of line-dried laundry, and the clatter of a shopping cart over broken concrete. A mural of a bluebonnet had faded to chalk. In a breezeway, an elderly woman watered spider plants from a cut-down milk jug. "Ms. Alvarez," Maya asked, checking the contact sheet. The woman's face opened. "You're from the city," Carter Group, Maya said. "We're studying how to fix this place without pushing people out. I'm here to listen first." For the next 2 hours, Maya walked and wrote soft soil along the south retaining wall. 6 units with persistent leaks. A strip of storefronts across the street, half vacant, but with perfect morning light. A tiny library branch 5 blocks away, always full, no after-school room. A teenager skateboarded past and nearly wiped out on a buckled slab. "We clear that we don't sue," he joked, and his friend barked a laugh. Maya knelt and ran her hand over the raised concrete. In her head, an overlay bioswale along the alley to manage stormwater. A shared courtyard by removing 2 dying carports. Micro-retail shelves for local vendors to pay for a community room. She snapped photos measured with her shoe when she didn't have a tape and printed lines in her sketchbook with a 0.5 mechanical pencil she'd carried since grad school. Her phone buzzed once Victor Ward. "Ryan has been served." Clerk recorded the notice. 72-hour vacate clock started. She typed back, "Received. Thank you." She didn't smile. She just drew the line of a path where kids could cut from Building C to the bus stop without playing chicken with the parking lot. Back at the tower, she was halfway through translating field notes into a rough program when Renee leaned around her monitor. "Heads up, you may want to take the employee entrance for a bit." "Why?" Renee grimaced. "We have visitors." Maya followed her look to the live building feed. The marble lobby, all white stone and brass, had turned into a stage. Evelyn sat cross-legged on the floor, like a martyr fanning herself with a church bulletin. Lena clutched her 2 kids, tearless, but making the face for tears. Ryan hung back, sleeves rolled, jaw-set, camera phones up around them like a halo of vultures. A hand-lettered poster leaned against a planter, "Rich girl, cold heart." "Of course." Renee hovered. "Security's trying to clear them, but they're loud." Maya stood. Where's facilities director on duty? Tanya Alvarez Renee said. She's good. Let her do her job, Maya said. If she needs me, she has my number. She sat back down. Her hands were steady. She circled community kitchen on the program and wrote church partnerships in the margin. On the screen, Evelyn launched into a rehearsed sob about being put out on the street like dogs. Someone handed her a bottle of water. She shoved it away and made sure the label faced the nearest phone. The intercom pinged. Ms. Carter, this is Alvarez. Quick check. Would you like us to escalate to DPD or keep it in-house? In-house, Maya said into the receiver. No one lays a finger on them. Escort to the public sidewalk. Document everything. If they block entrances, call DPD. Copy? Also, Alvarez paused professional but wry. They're asking for whoever runs this place. I don't run this place, Maya said. You do. Thank you, Ms. Alvarez. Yes, ma'am. 5 minutes later, the feed showed 2 security officers and a woman in a navy blazer, Tanya standing squarely in front of Evelyn, voice calm, palms open. The scene moved like a slow tide toward the revolving doors and out onto the city sidewalk. The poster drooped. Phones kept filming, but the lobby was lobby again, quiet, civilized, a place where business happened. Maya exhaled once and closed the window. She didn't text, didn't call, didn't post. She relabeled her sections. Safety, dignity, cost. In that order. The Monday department check-in turned sharper. Miles started with a remark pitched just low enough to be plausible deniability. Public perception matters, he said, flipping a pen in his fingers. We can't have distractions, undermining trust. No one looked at Maya. Everyone heard it. She slid her maple square packet across. Site audit. Existing conditions, early ideas, and a first-pass budget. If we phase exteriors and fund interiors with ground floor license fees, we can pull a community room and after-school studio out of operations instead of capital. Also lined up a walkthrough with a pro bono soils engineer to evaluate the settling in the alley. Liability goes down. Bids go down. Miles scanned the top page, jaw twitching, when he had to keep reading. Who gave you vendor access? No one, Maya said. I asked. They said yes. He closed the folder like it had offended him. We'll see if it survives real math. Numbers are on page 6, she said gently. Across the table, Darius from estimating smothered a smile. I'll run it. If the pro bono pans out, you just saved us 30 grand. Miles didn't like losing air. He pivoted. Fine. Keep going. But remember, this department doesn't run on crusades or pity projects. Maya kept her voice even. It runs on buildings that work. That's the goal. Renee slid a post-it under Maya's elbow as the meeting broke. Data avail 5:30 if needed. Maya nodded once. Not yet. At 5:10, everyone else fled the fluorescent hum. Maya stayed. The office quiet felt earned, the kind of quiet you get after a neighborhood meeting where everyone talked and someone finally listened. She taped her photos to a board, sketched the bioswale, wrote shade in big letters over the courtyard. She penciled a low wooden stage that could be a play space by day and a porch for live music on summer nights. She added a tool library closet off the laundry room and wrote resident run in the corner. Her phone vibrated. Victor again. FYI, tenant inventory at Preston Hollow is scheduled for Thursday 8 a.m. Lone Star rep will attend. Locksmith at 9. You want to be there. Maya looked at her board. At the hallway darkening, at the small, stubborn shape of what's next taking form under her pencil. No, she typed. Please send Jenkins. Keys to Lone Star receipt to Ward and Associates. I'm on site at Maple Square that morning. A beat then understood. Maya capped her pencil and stepped back. This was the first real breath she'd taken all day. Not the absence of crisis, the presence of a plan. On her way out, she passed the lobby, where high ceilings swallowed sound. The marble gleamed the way it should. Outside, the city smelled like hot stone and cut grass. She walked to the garage, ribboning down levels until she found her spot. Before she got in, she glanced at her phone one last time. No new messages from Ryan Evelyn or anyone with a grievance. No viral clips she needed to bury or outrun. Just a weather alert about heat and a calendar ping for Maple Square Tenants Council, Wednesday 6 p.m. Cookies, a note she'd left herself because someone had mentioned the kids loved snickerdoodles. When she turned the ignition, the radio caught a song she used to blast in a beat-up Civic on the way to studio critiques at 2 in the morning. She smiled automatic and pulled into the flow of traffic. The house in Preston Hollow would soon enough fill with new laughter that had nothing to do with her. The lobby had gone back to being a lobby, and on a second-hand corkboard on level 23, a reborn Maple Square had its first sketch of a future where nobody got left on the curb. Tomorrow she'd bring the cookies, and the budget, and a tape measure this time. By Wednesday, Maple Square had a draft scope, a phased budget, and a standing date with the Tenants' Council. At 3:12 p.m., Renee pinged Maya's security calling. "Unusual visitor asking for you by name." Downstairs, Tanya Alvarez stood with 2 guards and a girl in a faded unicorn tee, knees, bruised hair wild from Texas wind. The kid stared straight at Maya, like she'd studied her from a picture. "I'm Ava," she said, voice too steady. "Aunt Maya, can I please not go back there?" Maya's breath hitched. Lena's daughter. 7, maybe 8. No backpack. Dollar store flip-flops. Fear stiff as cardboard. "Come with me," Maya said. To Tanya, "Guest pass, no photos, no lobby exposure." They took the employee elevator. In the cafe, Ava demolished a grilled cheese, then a second. Between bites, words spilled out, shouting in the motel room doors, slamming beer on the rug. Grandma Evelyn calling Maya names Ava didn't understand, but knew were knives. "They said you're mean, Ava," confessed cheeks flame pink. "But you always talked nice to me." Maya kept her face calm, while her insides shook. "You did a brave thing getting here." She texted Victor under the table. "Temporary guardianship options. Emergency minor child of ex-in-law unsafe environment." He replied in 2 minutes. "On it. CPS liaison plus emergency petition judge on call. Keep child with you. Do not contact parents yet. Would you like a shower and new clothes?" Maya asked. Ava nodded so hard the unicorn's horn blurred. By 5, Ava wore clean leggings and light-up sneakers from the mall across the Sky Bridge. In HR's wellness room, she fell asleep on a sofa, under a chenille throw, fingers latched around a plush armadillo, the receptionist produced from a drawer like a magic trick. Maya stood in the doorway and texted Jenkins, "Can you take a guest to Turtle Creek and have security add her to the household list? I'll be right behind you. Always Ms. Carter." She left a note, Ava Jenkins's family. "I'll be home for dinner, M." At 8:43 p.m., a sound tore the quiet, a heavy thud, a porcelain skitter, and then silence. Maya dropped the book she wasn't reading and sprinted down the hall to Richard's study. He was slumped forward over the desk, tea cold beside his hand, his face the color of paper. On the monitor, an open email with a cardiology report. Severe multivessel coronary disease. Recommendation immediate surgical intervention, CABG. "Dad," Maya grabbed his shoulders. "Dad, can you hear me?" "Nothing, 911. She told the house system, and the room came alive. Operator confirmation address, the calm machine of rescue rolling toward them across town. Maya's hands didn't shake as she checked his airway, checked his pulse, elevated his legs. Jenkins was already bundling Ava into a spare bedroom with a promise of cartoons and a cookie if she stayed put. Paramedics thundered in under 10 minutes, words clipped, movements precise. At Baylor University Medical Center, fluorescent lights turned minutes into taffy. Victor arrived with a leather portfolio and the grim kindness of someone who's walked families through worst nights. "Here," he said quietly, opening the folio on a plastic chair. "Your father anticipated the possibility. Durable medical power of attorney. And before I argue with you about timing temporary corporate authorization if he's in surgery, it sunsets when he signs the revocation, hopefully in 48 hours. Maya stared at the signature Richard Carter steady, even through fear, and felt something expand and settle in her chest at the same time. She signed her part with a hospital pen. A nurse pushed through swinging doors. Family of Richard Carter. The cath results show significant blockages. The surgeon recommends bypass tonight. Maya stood. "Do it." The nurse nodded and disappeared back into the choreography. Victor touched her shoulder. "The board will want an update. They'll also want a babysitter." "Set a call," Maya said. 30 minutes. At 10:07 p.m., faces tiled across her laptop in a hospital family room. Paul Lyle, vice chair, smile. Like a lacquered bar top. Anita Rhodes, audit. Kenji Ito. Development, Marla. Eng Legal, and 3 others. "No one said sorry about your father first." Paul led with, "For stability, we should appoint an external interim chair, a seasoned operator. Optics matter." "Optics do matter." Maya said into the camera. Voice even. That's why you don't hand the wheel to a stranger while our founder is in surgery. My father executed a limited authorization for me to act within scope with board consultation until he's out. I'm asking for 72 hours. We have a plan for Maple Square. We also have other noise to manage. She didn't say lobby theatrics. They all read the same gossip sites. Anita folded her hands. Guidelines. Any expenditure over $1 million gets board sign-off. No divestitures, no new debt. Daily written brief. If I fail you, you can vote this authorization down in a special session. But tonight, please don't reward chaos with chaos. Kenji spoke first, surprising her. I'm comfortable with that. Marla nodded. Same. Paul smiled thinly. We'll try it, for 72 hours. Thank you, Maya said. She ended the call before her face could betray relief. By midnight, another fire lit. Kara Whitfield PR sent a link that ricocheted across every phone in Dallas, a 7-minute video shot under an overpass shaky and perfectly manipulative. Ice Queen Heiress throws family onto street, blared the title. There was Evelyn on a camping chair clutching a tissue Lena, with children in mismatched pajamas. A reporter with a ring light and a sympathetic murmur. Logan Price, a freelance opportunist with 500,000 followers and zero ethics. Maya watched once jaw set. The video never mentioned the prenup, never mentioned affairs, never mentioned that the house was headed to a children's foundation. The comments were a stampede. Kara called, "We can post a 2-paragraph denial-threaten suit and hope it slows." No defensive statement, Maya said. We gather receipts, card statements, hotel folios, the transfer docs to Lone Star Children's Foundation. We find anyone Logan has shaken down before. When we speak, we show not tell. Until then, we say nothing. Kara hesitated. It'll get worse before it gets better. It usually does, Maya said. Monitor. Archive. Don't argue with a story. Replace it. She hung up and texted Victor Runn, a litigation search on Logan Price. Pattern of extortion. Find past targets willing to talk on record. On it. Her battery hit 7%. She plugged in, sat very straight, and let her head tip back against the wall. In the quiet between beeps, she pictured Ava asleep in the guest room, with the armadillo tucked against her ribs. That was the only metric that mattered tonight, one kid safe. At 2:36 a.m., the surgeon appeared, mask haloed around his neck. Family of Richard Carter surgery went as planned. He's stable in ICU. First 24 hours are key. Maya's knees almost gave. Thank you, she said, and meant the words with an intensity that startled her. Morning ground forward. Renee texted a calendar hold for Maple Square Tenants Council, 6:00 p.m., and a heart emoji she'd never have dared in a boardroom. Darius sent revised numbers with you were right buried in the middle. Miles CC'd half the floor on an email about professional decorum that might as well have been addressed to her and a wall camera. At noon, Victor slid a manila folder across a cafeteria table at the hospital. 2 previous Logan Price specials, he said. Different cities, same structure. One woman settled, one Nora Diaz didn't. She kept receipts. Her attorney will talk. Good, Maya said. She flipped to the last page a transfer packet for Lone Star with dates, wire proofs, and a move-out inventory. Jenkins will hand over the keys tomorrow with their rep. I won't be there. Victor didn't argue. He just nodded like the world had started making sense again. Her phone flashed unknown caller. She almost let it go. Then she swiped. Ms. Carter, a voice too bright. Logan Price, I'd love to give you space to share your side. Long form, nuanced. We can humanize you. No, Maya said pleasantly. You can retract or you can litigate. Those are your options. She ended the call before the sales pitch could curdle. She looked through the ICU glass at her father's chest, rising and falling under a neat lattice of tape. The empire everyone assumed defined her fit in the palm of his hand. She could steer it. She could even grow it. But this man-breathing was the only empire she'd ever insisted on keeping. At 5:40 p.m., she walked into Maple Square's rec room with snickerdoodles in a bakery box and a board with marker renderings. Ms. Alvarez, a different Alvarez Rosa building captain, had made lemonade. Kids clustered by the cookies. Seniors took chairs in a ring. Maya taped up the plan and stood where everyone could see. Okay, she said, tell me what I got wrong. Hands shot up. She wrote as fast as they spoke, more shade. No raised beds, hard to bend after school hour. Later security lights that don't buzz. Ava's friend wants a swing, Ava. The name snuck in from a little girl at the back, whose mother shushed her. And Maya smiled without meaning to. Every so often, her eyes drifted to the corner of her sketch where she'd written safety, dignity, cost. By the time the cookies were crumbs, Maya had a list that was longer than her first plan and better. People didn't leave angry. They left talking about how to run a tool library and who could teach guitar on Saturdays in the new community room. Outside, the sky went bruised gold. Her phone buzzed once. Kara, we've mapped the Logan network. 3 sources willing. Your call if we go public Friday. Victor Judge signed the emergency guardianship. Ava is legal with you for 14 days. CPS visit scheduled. ICU, patient stable. Maya stood by her car and let that triad land plan paper pulse. It wasn't victory, it was foundation. Enough to carry into the next fight. Back at Turtle Creek, Ava ran down the hall in socked feet. Is Grandpa okay? He's getting better, Maya said, kneeling to eye level. And you're staying here until the grown-ups figure things out, deal? Ava nodded solemnly and slipped her hand into Maya's. The armadillo bumped against Maya's knee. In the quiet kitchen, Jenkins ladled out chicken and rice like he'd been doing it his whole life. Long day, he asked the way people ask when they've seen worse and celebrate better. Long, Maya said and smiled. Good. On the counter lay a single sheet Richard had signed before anesthesia temporary board authorization, with her name beneath his. Not a crown, a key. Tomorrow she'd use it. Tonight she'd tuck a 7-year-old into a bed where nightmares couldn't find her and text a surgeon thank you with 3 words she never wasted anymore. Please, thank you. Thursday, 8th, 02 a.m. Preston Hollow, move-out clock T0. Jenkins arrived with a locksmith, a body cam on his lapel, and a clipboard thick as a law book. The Lone Star Children's Foundation rep. Ms. Green, navy blazer, white sneakers, checked serial numbers against an inventory list. DPD cruisers idled at the curb per Tanya Alvarez's request. Evelyn tried to plant herself in the doorway. You can't! Jenkins polite to the bone, ma'am, court-recorded prenup. Ward and Associates will accept any further correspondence. He nodded to the locksmith. Tumblers turned. The camera saw everything: 2 designer handbags, missing a safe broken into, and left ajar the scuffed track where someone dragged a jewelry case. Ms. Green signed for the keys at 9:11 a.m. Jenkins countersigned, slid a copy into a document envelope, and handed it to the officer. Report filed. Chain of custody intact. By 9:30, the house didn't belong to anyone in it anymore. Thursday, 1:14 p.m., Dallas County Family Court. Victor Ward stood beside Maya at the rail. Emergency guardianship for Ava Santos, 14 days, granted ex parte. Earlier, now needed a formal hearing. CPS worker Delaney Hooper testified first photographs of a motel room with beer cans, a hole in drywall text logs of 200 a.m. noise complaints. Lena twisted a tissue to pulp. She's my daughter. Victor didn't raise his voice. And Ms. Carter has room stability and no criminal record. We're asking the court to extend temporary guardianship to 30 days supervised visitation for mother at CPS and enrollment in day program at Trammell Art Center starting Monday. Judge Ellen Kirk slid on reading glasses, glanced over the stack. The child's stability comes first. Motion granted. Ms. Santos comply with CPS and will review in a month. Maya exhaled when she didn't know she'd been holding her breath. Lena wouldn't look at her. Friday, 9:58 a.m., Carter Group Auditorium. Kara Whitfield had turned the room into a broadcast set, soft boxes, step and repeat, dropped mics checked. A single podium, no panel, no spin. Renee straightened the neck mic. 3 beats facts, kids' future. Maya nodded. Victor waited in the wings with a hard drive labeled receipts. Camera's tally lights went red. Good morning, Maya said. I'll be brief and I'll show you everything. She clicked. Deed to Preston Hollow recorded pre-marriage. Prenup clause 14 infidelity equals no claim 72-hour vacate. Time-stamped video, Ryan Brooks at North Park buying a diamond with Maya's card on their anniversary. Bank statements transfers to 5 women, hotel folios, Zelle memos that raid rent. Lone Star transfer packet wire, confirmations assigned acceptance letter, the key handover at 9:11 a.m. yesterday. 2 short interviews pre-taped with Nora Diaz and Terrence Hale, victims of Logan Price's docuseries in other cities. Both described pay-to-delete demands. I will not argue with a story, Maya said. I will replace it with facts. The house is already with a children's foundation. A child is in my care by order of the court. To anyone who gave money to a staged overpass encampment, please redirect it to Lone Star Children's Foundation or Dallas Food Recovery Network. My team will publish links. Reporters' hands went up. Ms. Carter, do you regret? No, Maya said evenly. I regret not acting sooner. Are you pressing charges? Yes. Formal complaints for defamation, extortion, and theft were filed this morning against Logan Price, Mr. Brooks, and Mrs. Brooks Santos for items missing from the property. Is this retaliation? This is accountability, Maya said. Also, this is not Carter Group's press conference. It's mine. The company continues building housing that works. Which brings me to Maple Square. She flipped to 3 boards, bioswale shade trellises, community room schedule with after-school hours pushed later per tenant request to a library sign-up. A quiet, unfussy coda. We'll post the full deck and the receipts within the hour. Thank you. She stepped back. No flourish, no tears. Friday 11:37 a.m. The Turn. Kara's dashboard lit like a pinball machine. Sentiment line, an ugly red, jerked, stuttered, then climbed. Lone Star's donation page pinged like rain on a tin roof. Logan Price posted a nuanced update that read like a pre-lawyered surrender. DPD's public information officer tweeted, "We have received multiple complaints. We do not comment on active investigations." Renee forwarded an internal memo from facilities. Evelyn and Ryan tried to reenact the lobby scene. Tanya met them with a clipboard and a trespass notice. Signed, served, logged. Friday 2:05 p.m., level 23. Miles Tripp appeared in Maya's doorway, smile like a staple. Quite a show, but around here, we value what's the phrase professional decorum. Maya didn't swivel from her monitor. Then you'll love this. Darius and I found a procurement irregularity West District facade package, went to your brother-in-law's shop over 3 lower bids. I've opened an internal review. Legal looped. Color climbed Miles's neck. That's not how we... It is now, Maya said. Transparent bid sheets, vendor COI files, and no one Parks projects on junior staff to fail. Maple Square moves to design development Monday. If you have constructive notes, put them in writing. For a second, he looked like a man seeing the end of his angle. You think your name? My work, Maya said, finally meeting his eyes. That's what gets me through the door. Same standard applies to you. He left without slamming anything. Progress. Friday 5:52 p.m. Baylor, CVCU. Richard Carter was pale but awake, tubes routed and taped like a schematic. He smiled under the bruised fatigue of anesthesia. How'd you do? Didn't faint, Maya said, pulling a chair close. She told him the short version keys delivered Ava safe for 30 Press Room Maple Square. He closed his eyes for a beat, then opened them. Good. Now do the boring work. Boring is what lasts. She laughed softly. Yes, sir. He squeezed her fingers. Proud of you, kid. Saturday, 10:18 a.m., Turtle Creek. CPS's Delaney toured the house labeled Med Drawer Emergency Contacts on the fridge, a calendar with Ava's art camp circled in coral Sharpie. Ava tugged Delaney's sleeve to show the armadillo plushes room in a bookshelf cubby. Stable placement, Delaney wrote. Child clean-fed interactive. Guardianship plan appropriate. Ava caught Maya's eye, seeking a verdict she didn't have words for. Maya crouched. Movie tonight, you pick. Ava considered like a CEO. The one with the robot who plants trees. Done. Sunday, 7:31 p.m. Oak Cliff, Maple Square. Rosa poured lemonade again, this time in paper cups that said, thank you. In mismatched fonts, someone's cousin had donated a case. A teenage boy pointed at the plan's corner. Can the stage have outlets? We do open mics. Outlets we can do, Maya said, and sketched a tiny lightning bolt. An older man tapped the security lighting note. No buzzing. My wife can't sleep. Full spectrum LEDs, Maya wrote, shielded. As the sun slid behind brick, a little girl, not Ava, different girl, same energy, swung micro braids and asked, Will there be swings? Maya hesitated. One, she said, but a good one. The room laughed, a good laugh like a joint exhale. Her phone buzzed with 3 short notes as people folded chairs. Kara TV3 just ran your full deck. Anchor called it a masterclass in receipts. Victor Logan Price retained counsel. They asked for a meeting. Renee Board wants Monday 8 a.m. update. Bring Maple Square. Maya packed the markers. The plan wasn't perfect, but it was alive. So was her father. So was a 7-year-old who finally slept through the night. Outside Dallas did that Sunday evening thing where it forgives you for all the racket and heat of the week. Maya slid behind the wheel, caught her own face in the rear view, tired yes, but clear. Monday would come with more fights, a negotiation with a grifter, a meeting with a board, a boss who suddenly liked rules. Fine. That was the job, the boring work her father swore by. The kind of boring that brick by brick turns schematics into rooms and rooms into lives. She drove home with a bakery box on the passenger seat, snickerdoodles again. Because some rhythms you keep on purpose. Monday, 7:58 a.m. Carter Group boardroom. The blinds cut Texas sun into tidy stripes across polished wood. Maya stood at the far screen, 3 slides only, Maple Square phasing tenant asks versus budget, and a 1-page procurement audit. We open with roofs and risers, not facades, she said. Phase 1. Life safety and water. Phase 2. Courtyard and community room. Phase 3. Storefront shelves to fund operations. No displacement. We anchored costs to bids, not estimates. She clicked. A table bloomed West District facade package low bid, second low bid awarded vendor, and a red flag on related party. Legal and audit have the supporting docs, Maya said. I'm asking for 3 votes. 1. Approve Maple Square Phase 1. 2. Suspend the West District Award pending rebid. 3. Adopt a conflict of interest policy with vendor disclosures and public bid sheets. Paul Lyle tapped his pen. You're suggesting we wash our laundry in daylight? Yes, Maya said. So we don't have to wash it at all. Anita Rhodes raised a hand. I move we approve all 3. Kenji Ito seconded. The votes ticked around the table, aye, until only Miles Tripp invited, as staff shifted in his chair, face tight. HR slid him a single sheet, a beat later paid administrative leave pending inquiry. Miles, Maya said quietly, clean handoff to Renee by end of day. He nodded once, a stiff puppet, and left. Paul leaned back, assessing. 1 more item. Interim governance. Richard's stable, but markets like certainty. I propose we name Maya Carter interim executive chair for 60 days subject to weekly board updates. A beat, then hands. I again, even from people who had squinted at her last week. Do the boring work? Richard's voice echoed in her head. She exhaled once. Thank you. Monday, 10:46 a.m., Ward and Associates conference room. Logan Price's attorney arrived with a conciliatory tie and a folder that tried to look heavier than it was. Victor pressed record on the table mic. Mr. Price is willing to remove the video and issue a correction counsel began. Not enough, Maya said. Her list was crisp. A full retraction video pinned across platforms for 180 days with a clear apology to Lone Star and acknowledgement of staged elements. Monetization disabled on all related content. Ad revenue to date paid to Lone Star within 10 business days. A charitable contribution of $250,000 split between Lone Star Children's Foundation and Dallas Food Recovery Network. No confidentiality clauses. Sunlight is non-negotiable, Maya said. A commitment to corrected amplification. Mr. Price uses his channels to feature verified community resources chosen by Lone Star 3 posts per month for 6 months. Counsel flinched. That borders on compelled speech. It's restorative, Victor said, mild as a scalpel. And it keeps your client out of a defamation suit. We will win. These are settlement terms, not a plea bargain. Your choice. An hour later, they had initials on a term sheet and a timetable. Maya didn't smile. We'll draft the final by 4, she said. We expect the retraction by Friday noon. Monday, 3:22 p.m., Dallas County Family Court Annex. CPS caseworker Delaney Hooper slid updates to Judge Ellen Kirk, home check school plan counseling intake for Ava set for Wednesday. Lena stared at a fixed point on the carpet. Maya kept her voice steady. We're asking to extend temporary guardianship to 60 days. Ms. Santos can have twice weekly supervised visits at CPS, and the option of parenting classes will fund if she accepts. Lena finally looked up raw and brittle. You think you're the hero, no, Maya said. I think your daughter needs sleep and a schedule. If you want those too, we're on the same side. Judge Kirk signed pen quick. Order extended to 60 days, review set on the docket. Ava's hand squeezed Maya's afterward in the hallway, small and certain. Does that mean I can still go to art camp? It does, Maya said. Tuesday, 6:08 p.m. Maple Square Rec Room. The whiteboard now had assigned names next to tasks Mr. Alvarez, no relation, for the tool library signouts. Ms. Boudreau, for garden committee, minus raised beds. Deshawn and Kiki for youth open mic. A city planner from Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization pointed at Maya's phasing chart. You shaved 11% off projected soft costs by front-loading soils and drainage. Pro bono geotech consult and standardize details, Maya said. We're not inventing bespoke pavers. We're fixing sewers. Good, the planner said. We can wrap CDBG funds around Phase 1 if you keep displacement at 0. Your rent rolls light on the back end. Plan for LIHTC. Working it, Maya said, tapping Kenji into a follow-up email. A girl raised a hand shyly. Can the swing have a shade sail? That's an excellent idea, Maya said, adding a triangle over the tiny swing. Yes, Wednesday, 11th, 13 a.m., Baylor CVICU. Richard was propped up, color better lines, less labyrinth. A half-smile connected to a pain pump. He watched her unwrap a chicken salad sandwich, like she was 4 again, with a lunchbox. I heard a rumor, he rasped, that you took my job. Borrowed it, Maya said. 60 days. Good. He closed his eyes, then opened them. Don't give it back if they try to take it from you. She shook her head. The only thing I'm keeping is the boring work. Policy's in, bids go public, Miles is on ice. He squeezed her hand papery and strong. That's my girl. Thursday, 9:02 a.m., Carter Group HR conference room. HR interviewed a procurement analyst with vendor collusion screenshots. Legal pulled email headers, IP matches, and a suspicious Dropbox share. The pattern hardened a back channel that routed work to friends for a quiet skim. By 4:30 p.m., Marla Ang Legal had what she needed. HR issued notices. It wasn't a purge, it was consequences. Good people got to keep their work without holding their noses. The air shifted. Renee walked past Maya's door with 2 mugs. Company feels lighter, she said, surprised to hear it out loud. Fresh paint doesn't fix a leak, Maya said, but it helps you notice where the water is. Friday, 11:59 a.m., The Retract. Logan Price's video hit every platform at once. No music, no dramatic cuts, just Logan lit harshly reading, I published a story about Ms. Maya Carter and the Lone Star Children's Foundation that was false and misleading. Elements were staged for effect. I apologize to Ms. Carter Lone Star and my audience. The video is removed, demonetized, and all revenue has been donated as shown here. He held up wire receipts. For the next 6 months, I'll be highlighting verified resources in North Texas. Comments were a battlefield. The algorithm did what algorithms do. But Kara's sentiment graph didn't plunge this time. It held steady, then crept green. Kara texted clocked. Victor settlement executed, funds landed, Ms. Green at Lone Star. We can finish out 2 dorms with this. Thank you. Maya stared at that last line for a long moment and let herself smile. Saturday, 9:41 a.m., Preston Hollow, now Lone Star House. The wrought iron gate no longer framed manicured silence. It framed a chalk dragon curling across the driveway and a sand table under the live oak. A hand-painted sign read Lone Star House in blocky blue. Maya didn't go in. She stood at the fence line like any passerby. A cluster of kids raced for the porch. A staffer knelt to tie a sneaker. In the side yard, volunteers were sealing a mural. Wildflowers constellations, a cartoon armadillo in a superhero cape. A girl with 2 high puffs. Not Ava, pointed at the armadillo and laughed so hard she hiccuped. The sound snapped something in Maya she hadn't known was still brittle. She took a breath that went all the way down. Morning, said a woman in a Lone Star tee walking by with a box of paper towels. She didn't recognize Maya. Perfect. Morning, Maya said and meant it. Sunday, 7:12 p.m., Turtle Creek. Ava pressed a paint-streaked forearm to her cheek. Robots with Trees movie again. Maya made a show of groaning. 3rd time this week. Fine. But we're making popcorn with the real butter. In the dim, Ava leaned against her, warm and boneless, the way kids collapse when they know they're safe. Halfway through, Ava whispered, Mom said sorry today. Maya didn't flinch. How did that feel? Weird, Ava said, thinking hard. Good weird. Okay, Maya said. We can live with good weird. After lights out, she opened her laptop and finished a 1-page memo for Monday bid transparency rollout, Maple Square. Phase 1 Notice to Proceed CDBG Application COIE Training Dates. No fireworks, just bricks. Her phone buzzed. Richard Nurse says I'm walking tomorrow. Don't tell board. They'll want a parade. No parades, she typed back. Boring work only. He sent a thumbs up and a heart. She laughed alone in the kitchen and felt precisely not alone. On the counter sat a folder labeled Phoenix Grant Seed Funding she'd carved out of her personal budget. Not the companies to give microgrants and legal aid to women, restarting after divorce. The application portal would go live in a week. She flipped the folder open and added one line at the top, minimum dignity, maximum runway. Outside the city hummed like a big appliance at rest. Inside the dishwasher ticked the dog sighed in his sleep, and a 7-year-old dreamed in a room with blackout curtains and a basket of markers by the window. Revenge, Richard had once said from a morphine haze, is just a word people use when they don't understand boundaries. Maya rinsed her cup and smiled. Boundaries, budgets, bid sheets, cookies. Shade sales and outlets for open mics. Boring things that turn anger into architecture. She turned off the last light. Tomorrow there'd be meetings and minutes and a swing to spec. The good kind of endless. The kind that piece by piece builds a life no lie can topple.